$985 million. That was the price. One check, one man, one deal that rewrote American history, and almost nobody knows his name. In 1987, a black man from Baltimore completed the largest offshore leveraged buyout by any American firm in history. He purchased Beatrice International Foods, 64 companies, spanning 31 countries, operating on 4 continents, for $985 million. He funded it with junk bonds. He negotiated the deal himself. He signed it himself. He renamed the company TLC Beatrice International Holdings, and when the revenue was tallied that year, $1.8 billion, the first black-owned company in American history to break $1 billion. His name was Reginald Francis Lewis. December 7th, 1942, Baltimore, Maryland. Reginald Lewis came into this world in a row house in East Baltimore, the grandson of hardworking people who understood firsthand the limits this country placed on black ambition. When Reginald was 6 years old, he overheard his grandparents talking. They were discussing employment discrimination, the way doors were simply closed, the way entire industries were reserved for white men by unspoken agreement. And the little boy listening from around the corner asked a question that would define the next 44 years of his life. Why should white guys have all the fun? He wasn't being flip, he was being serious. He delivered newspapers. He ran a paper route at age 10. He worked. He observed. He cataloged the distance between what he saw and what he knew he deserved. He attended Dunbar High School in Baltimore. He was a quarterback, sharp, competitive, relentless. He won a football scholarship to Virginia State University, a historically black institution in Ettrick, Virginia. He studied economics. He excelled. He set his sights higher. He applied, or rather he was invited, to Harvard Law School. Here is a fact that sounds impossible, because it nearly was. Reginald Lewis was admitted to Harvard Law School before he formally applied. He had participated in a Rockefeller Foundation summer program at Harvard Law in 1965. He so impressed the faculty that the school admitted him on the spot, the first person in Harvard Law School's history to be admitted before submitting a formal application. He graduated in 1968. He arrived in New York City with a Harvard Law degree, ambition that outweighed everything else in the room, and a specific vision. He was going to build something no one had built before. In 1973, he co-founded Lewis & Clarkson, the first black-owned law firm on Wall Street. Think about that. Not just a black lawyer at a white firm, not a partner tolerated into a corner office. His own firm, on Wall Street, in 1973. He specialized in corporate law, mergers, acquisitions, the architecture of how companies are bought and sold. He was learning the system from the inside, not because he wanted to serve it, but because he intended to master it. And in 1983, he launched TLC Group, LP, TLC, the Lewis Company, private equity, his own. His first major target was McCall Pattern Company, a 100-year-old manufacturer of sewing patterns, a fixture in American homes, publicly traded. In 1984, Lewis completed a leveraged buyout of McCall for $22.5 million. He had not raised all of that money yet when he made the offer. He negotiated the deal, then raised the capital. His personal stake, roughly $1 million, borrowed. He ran McCall. He turned it around. He cut costs intelligently, grew revenues, improved operations. 3 years later, in 1987, he sold McCall Pattern Company for $65 million. That is a 90-to-1 return on his initial investment. 90-to-1. Wall Street noticed. But Reginald Lewis was not interested in celebrating. He was already looking at a larger target, much larger. Beatrice International Foods. This was not a mid-sized company. This was a multinational food conglomerate. 64 operating companies, 31 countries, Europe, Asia, Latin America, Australia. Beatrice's international division was being spun off by its American parent company as part of a divestiture. The asking price was approaching $1 billion. Lewis went after it. He secured junk bond financing through Michael Milken and Drexel Burnham Lambert, the same mechanism that was reshaping American corporate finance in the 1980s. High-risk, high-reward debt instruments, the instrument that built a decade of deal-makers. In November 1987, Reginald Francis Lewis closed the deal, $985 million, the largest offshore leveraged buyout ever completed by an American firm at that time. He renamed the company TLC Beatrice International Holdings. Revenue in year one, $1.8 billion. The first black-owned company in American history to break $1 billion in revenue. By 1992, TLC Beatrice was the largest black-owned business in the United States. Lewis worked from his $11.6 million Manhattan apartment and his $3 million residence in Paris. He appeared on the Forbes 400 list. His personal fortune was estimated between $400 and $500 million at its peak. Now, let us be precise here, because this man deserves honesty alongside admiration. Some call Lewis the first black billionaire. What is accurate, and what is extraordinary, is that he built the first black-owned billion-dollar company in American history. His personal net worth, by Forbes estimates, peaked in that $400 to $500 million range before his sudden death. Robert L. Johnson of BET would later technically become the first black individual to achieve billionaire status by personal net worth in 2001. But here is the argument that many make, and that history supports. Had Reginald Lewis lived, there is little doubt he would have crossed that threshold. TLC Beatrice was growing. His estate, managed by his wife Louisa Nicholas Lewis after his death, ultimately generated over $1 billion in liquidation. He was not stopped by the market. He was stopped by time. January 19, 1993. Reginald Francis Lewis died of brain cancer in a New York City hospital. He was 50 years old. 50. He had built a billion-dollar empire in a decade. He was just beginning. In 1994, his memoir was published posthumously, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun?, written with Blair Walker. The title was the question from that 6-year-old boy in Baltimore. The answer was the life he built. After his death, his wife Louisa Nicholas Lewis took over TLC Beatrice. She ran it with intelligence and discipline, divesting the companies carefully, protecting the value he had built. He left behind the Reginald F. Lewis Foundation, which has donated tens of millions of dollars to universities, nonprofits, and black institutions across America. And in 2005, Baltimore, the city that made him, opened the Reginald F. Lewis Museum of Maryland African American History, a world-class cultural institution bearing his name on the Inner Harbor. Here is what we owe him. Not myth, not inflation of the record. The record is extraordinary enough. A paperboy from East Baltimore, a quarterback who became a lawyer who became an investor who out-negotiated the most powerful financial institutions in the world, a man who built 64 companies across 31 countries before he was 50 years old, a man who looked at the closed doors of American finance and said, not in anger, but in absolute certainty, why should white guys have all the fun? He didn't wait for an answer. He became the answer. His name deserves to be spoken in classrooms, in boardrooms, on Wall Street, where he walked and dealt and won. Say his name, Reginald F. Lewis. Subscribe, share this. Make sure the next generation knows who he was.